Hey, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for checking me out. Today, I wanted to go over some of the top 5 things that I've learned from Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin. I think Jimmy is a great example of how to use the pentatonic scale in many diverse ways. A way to make it sound cool, eclectic, fresh, and more importantly, powerful. So let's get into one of my favorites, Jimmy Page. So like I was saying in the intro, today I wanted to go over 5 of the top cool things I've learned from Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin. Mostly going to be covering the song Since I've Been Loving You. It's a pretty straightforward 1-4-5 blues. And if you're interested in the tones I'm getting today, doing something a little different, let me know if you like it down in the comments below. I have my positive grid amp connected directly to my computer. So all the guitar tones you'll be hearing today are coming from the positive grid. This is a Since I've Been Loving You patch. So hopefully you enjoy the tones today. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so one of the first things I want to talk about when it comes to Jimmy Page, like I said, focusing on Since I've Been Loving You, is just his use of the pentatonic scale, the minor pentatonic. In the case of Since I've Been Loving You, the example of Since I've Been Loving You, we're out of the key of C, which is the 8th fret, low E string. We're doing our minor pentatonic position, which looks like this. So that's our C minor pentatonic. And the way Jimmy Page uses the pentatonic is just classic. Just straight up the center. He's not scared to show his blues lineage, not scared to show, that a 5-note scale can be really powerful. So right in the intro of Since I've Been Loving You, he does this really cool dyad thing that you hear in starting off a lot of blues songs. 8th fret, B string and E string. Then he hops up here to the 11th fret B string. Back to the 8th fret B string. Just sets you up right there in the beginning. And then a classic, nice blues bend. So we're going from the 11th fret, bending it up to the 13th fret, which is our C note. So we're essentially bending up to our root. And of course, just like any bend or anything with style, he bends up to the note and puts a little vibrato on it. And, that's not really a Jimmy Page specific thing, but he certainly has his own vibrato, which adds to his character, adds to his sound. So, and then onto the pentatonic riffing that Jimmy Page does, he really just uses the heck out of this position, this minor pentatonic, home row position. Just uses the heck out of it, just staying in position there. So that's the first thing, Jimmy Page's use of the pentatonic and just straight up blues licks, not afraid to lean into the legacy. So thing 2 of Jimmy Page I wanted to focus on was how he accents chord tones, which we obviously think of as more of like a jazz thing, but really it's just a melodic thing. So in the example, Since I've Been Loving You, it goes from our 1 chord, which is a C minor chord, and then he hops down to this F minor, but this note sticks out. You're thinking our pentatonic home row. We have this note, not this note, which is in our F minor 7 chord. So what Jimmy Page does when it goes to the 4 chord is he'll go from his pentatonic home row and he'll start landing on this root, really accenting it, or landing on this third, landing on this chord tone, which that really gives us some tension back to C sharp minor. Or sorry, just C minor. That brings us back to C minor. So, chord tone, then goes back a half step hit the chord tone that's in our C minor chord. So F minor 7, C minor, so great use of chord tones there. Jimmy Page does this all over the place. In the Forbidden solo from the Forbidden song, Stairway, of course, he does all sorts of outside weird chord tone playing, which just lets the listener know this person knows where they are in the song. This person knows what chord they're playing over, which lead players, Zeppelin lovers, you might think Jimmy's all over the place and being really sloppy, and sometimes he is, which adds to his overall character and approach, but he knows where he is in his chord progression, and you should too. So that's going to move us on to our next thing here. Thing number 3. 3? 3? How do you do 3? Leave in the comments down below. But we're going to do number 3. It's going to be his speed, which we were talking about kind of his slop playing, just kind of, trying to slop it up there to kind of get that Jimmy Page-ness. But Jimmy Page would do this thing, bringing us back to the pentatonic position, this home row. I'm going to focus on the B string and the G string. Kind of like this bottom triplet thing. Jimmy Page would use the heck out of stuff like that. So you just take a segment, a part of your scale, in this case our home row pentatonic, and just hit those 3 notes. So 11, 8, 10. 11 and 8 on the B string, 10th fret on the G string. And that's kind of like the note we're landing on. Right now I'm using my ring finger, index, and middle, but commonly I'll use my pinky, index, and ring. Whatever works best for you is obviously what is best. So, but if you really want to make it Jimmy Page there, is he's not picking every note. He picks the first note, pulls off to the second note, and picks that last note. And you hear this all over the place in rock and blues. And I'm not sure Jimmy Page invented this, of course, but I think he definitely popularized this. So, and then another cool triplet speed thing he does is come up to this 15th fret, 13th fret, 11th fret, and he goes to this, which is really essentially like a do, re, mi kind of situation. 15, 13, 11. One pick, pull off, pull off. And like the faster he goes, like kind of the sloppier it gets, but it just adds effect. Like I keep saying, it just adds character. Not everything needs to be pristine, but don't overdo it. Quick plug. Thank you all so much for being here, and I won't cut into the lesson too much, but we've been getting up here to around 200 subscribers, and I want to thank you all greatly for coming in. As of lately, looks like my Santana lesson has just been spreading across the internet sphere, and I greatly appreciate you checking me out. I'm a new channel here, very small channel. If it's not too much to ask for your support, I do have a Patreon that I'll put in the link below. That is certainly the best way to support me and my efforts here on YouTube. I also have a newsletter that I started. If you want to check that out for some of my more personal thoughts about music and everything related to this YouTube channel and things related to music, I'll put the link down below for the newsletter. Please sign up. And you really enjoy the content, don't be scared. Hit like down below. Press subscribe to stay up on all new listings. Please stay tuned. A lot more coming from me here in the future. So let's get back into the video. Thing 4 here. And this harkens back to something I mentioned in my Licks and Tricks of Jimi Hendrix video, which I'll put a link to right here. Please check that out. But something Jimmy Page did, as well as Santana, as well as Hendrix, is he would use over bends. So we all know what a guitar string bend is. So we're bending one fret up to another note by adding tension on the string. And typically we're hunting for specific notes. So we're really trying to land, we're here at the 11th fret. We're trying to hop up here to this C note, which is what we want because C is the root. But sometimes, let's say in the case of we're bending the C note up to a D note, which is the 9 of our chord, if all this theory is overwhelming and these words mean nothing, don't worry about it. But the sound we're looking for is so I'm kind of going C, bending up to D, pushing past D, up to D sharp. A bonus thing with the overbends is in Since I've Been Loving You, he bends up this 13th fret, but he's grabbing a little extra there. It's not just single note. He's bending that B string with it. So high E string runs into the B string when you're bending it. And you can kind of grab two notes there. And add a little sauce to it. So kind of a gnarly bend. Which Hendrix also used a lot. So a lot of intersect between these jimmies. Page, Hendrix, they're all pulling from the same bag of tricks here. Same from the blues legacy. They're all just pulling from the same heads. So, and then I feel like the ending of that little triplet phrase. I feel like that minor third to root, a la Albert King, a lot of vibrato on it. And kind of snaps from that third up to that root. So on to our fifth and final tip here, lick, trick, and that's his use of rhythm tags. See, we were talking about Jimmy Page's slop earlier and his triplets and how he's kind of just like playing over the bar, over the beat. Some of that stuff's like all over the place. But then it all comes back together, that John Bonham snare. Boom, snap of the snare. Space. Back into the verse. So the rhythm thing he's focusing on is the da na 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 ta. And just a memorable line, if nothing else. Like, I've always loved that part of the song. I think that's actually what made me get interested in learning this in the first place, was just, what is that cool little thing? And just to find out it's root fifth up to a sixth. Just so simple, but so effective and powerful. So, he kind of does this walk down. And back to the second thing I mentioned earlier, chord tones. He's using this sixth dyad situation to walk us down. But yeah, that sixth is a reoccurring kind of flavor note inside of our song. So him to use it, harken back to it one more time before the tag. is just super classy, super hip. So those were the top 5 cool things I've learned from Jimmy Page. I know there's many other things, but this is mostly just referencing Since I've Been Loving You, which is basically a straight ahead blues, a few little tricks in there, look out for chord tones, but I think this is a great one to pull out your looper or maybe just jam to YouTube and just have a great old time. I hope you use some of these licks, some of these tricks in your own playing and in your practice, and I hope to see you on the stage ripping these someday. Thank you again for making it here to the end of the video. If you are hearing this right now, that means you're a real one and you made it here to the end of the video. I appreciate you watching the whole thing. If it doesn't mean too much to you, wouldn't mind hitting the like button down below, ding, or subscribe, bing, down below even further. And if you want to get really nuts with it, please comment down below what your favorite Jimmy Page Led Zeppelin song is, and I will definitely tackle that here in the future. So let's get some commentary going down below. We'll see you next time.